like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or get involved in the conversation on social media. Join the Pearl Jam Podcast community group on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at liveonfourlegspod.
How about Mr. Stone Gossett, who wrote that song right there? He writes great songs and makes beautiful kids. It's quite a kind Let's don't sing, they say. Let's don't sing. Let's don't sing. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossett. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody now, welcome to Live on Four Legs, definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. We're coming to you this week after a pretty tumultuous week in Pearl Jam history. And we obviously knew and we reacted to it that London got canceled. Manchester Ed came out there and did not have the same vocal power that we know of him to have. And then there was the question, if London's canceled, what could come next? And as we're speaking, this is Sunday night. We found out only a few hours ago that both Berlin shows had been canceled, and now we're in a different predicament. So we are covering a Berlin show today, and that will be our primary focus after we get into a little bit of what's going on. But the one thing that is tough to do in this position is speculate on what exactly is happening. All they've said is illness, and a lot of people are projecting COVID. I'm not going to say COVID unless anybody else says COVID. I feel uncomfortable doing that. I can't tell what's going on. Maybe somebody in the crew, the whole crew, maybe, again, I don't want to suspect anything. I think that's kind of wrong to do and can kind of get you in trouble a little bit, but we obviously know that whatever's happening right now is pretty serious. So we are going to react and respond to that right now. Randy Sobel over here, John Farrar over there.
Hey. Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's
been a little bit of a downer, especially Berlin, because as we're going to talk about, they have such a good history there. And everybody had kind of highlighted those as the ones to look out for. Now they're not going to happen. But I don't think it's COVID. I mean, I think they would have said, because that would have been news. That would have been something new that we didn't know. I think that would have been an instant, okay, for people we get it now. But instead, they were very vague, and they don't have to tell us anything. But they have told us before when it's been COVID. So I don't think it's that. I think Ed just fucked his voice up real bad the other night, and he's just not recovering. I mean, he's, like we talked about, he's not young, and I think, like he said in the statement, despite all their best efforts and all the treatment, it's just not where he wants it to be. And he doesn't want to go out there and not be able to give 100% and not be able to give the people that are coming and the show that they deserve. He doesn't want to be at like 50% strength and then come out and have to go through another 25 songs and have it be worse and then have to cancel again. They'd rather just get this taken care of, get him to 100% or as close as they can, and then come back and have it be the show that they want to give to these crowds and have to be able to put on the show that they want to put on. And if that's in Barcelona, great. If it's not till Madrid, we'll deal with it. If it's not till Lisbon, okay. If it's not till Missoula, then it is what it is. But at this point, they've got to do whatever they can to get him back to full strength.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that on this time around for the two Berlin shows that they did end up canceling, more than 48 hours before. I know how tough it is for everybody. Hell, I got a text from my friend Brian, who was literally at the San Francisco airport when they announced this, heading to Berlin. I know a lot of other people that are currently traveling Europe that are just looking for things to do now, which is great. It's a great opportunity to do that, but it's unfortunate that Pearl Jam can't be a part of it. I know my friend Jason Brown, for people that are listening, he just decided, okay, we're going to go to Green Day that night, and he was in the pit for Green Day. So,
Yeah.
things that you kind of have to adjust to. But I do sympathize with everybody. I've been there before. We've all been there before at this point that we've had cancellations on us going back to 2020. And I feel for people that have made these sacrifices, that have spent a large sum of money to see this band. And honestly, it hurts a little bit when I see that people have become so disenfranchised with this right now that they're saying, like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I can't travel to go see this band. For me, it's like, this is what I live for. I can't see myself not doing it. But also, you have to think. And before this tour started, I said to myself, like, next time they go to Europe, I have to really start considering it, because I was supposed to go in 2020 to Amsterdam, but obviously that didn't happen. And when the shows were supposed to happen, I had to cancel on that. But now I don't think I can do a Pearl Jam show outside of North America because the risk is just too large.
Right. Yeah, feels like we've talked about this before, right? This has been kind of
Long
a
in circles,
recurring
man.
thing for the last few years, and they're gonna have to kind of circle the wagons and kind of make it work for the rest of the year, and it's gonna be up in the air for the rest of the year now that we've gone through this again, and we're gonna be thinking about it again. For every show, we're gonna be listening to see how he sounds. We're gonna be waiting for those emails because now it's kicked back in, and we're back in this frame of mind again. So, yeah, I mean, everybody who's got tickets, I'm sure, for the rest of the year is feeling nervous. I mean, you're looking at dates. You're like, oh man, like what are the shows like? What's it gonna be like? You're gonna be listening for that. So, they feel terrible about that. That's the last thing they want to do is have to cancel on people because like they know that people are traveling. They know that it's a destination for people. But I mean, this is just kind of like we talked about. This is just kind of the world that we live in now. They're not a young band, and then this happens, and it's just gonna keep happening until they really figure out like what the best way to get around this is, and some things might have to change drastically. We'll see what happens when they come back.
Yeah, I would assume. And again, we had talked about that on the London reaction.
Yeah.
And we just said, like, set list wise, more sit downs and less stress on Ed's voice, continuing to book shows that are spread apart from each other. It's the little things that could help a little bit. But again, we had that time in between Manchester and London, and obviously
Hmm.
that didn't quite work. I think I've gotten a lot of flack for this, unfortunately, and it's not me overreacting. It's just kind of the trend. I don't have to explain to a lot of you that this is the fifth time that we've gotten major cancellations since 2018. That's 6 years. And two of those years were no tour years at all. And one was a very, very short tour year. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned, and mostly I'm concerned for his health. I want him to be at full strength, not only that he can do what he loves to do and perform for us and give us that high that we always seek, but also he's a human being. And you can't help but sympathize with what he's going through right now, that what his family is going through. This is his livelihood. I know that people are going to say, oh, well, if he retired today, he'd still have millions and millions and millions of dollars. And like, that doesn't matter. It's not about finances or anything like that. It's just about like, I wouldn't want to see, as crazy as it is, of course, like this band feels like family to all of us. And you think about that, and you think about your own family and the people that you know in your own life, and how you have to sit there and you have to support them through whatever battle they're going through. And I just think that you're concerned because they are more than just rock stars to you at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is for him to try to come back too early before he's ready and end up doing permanent damage, and then the doctor be like, nope, you're done. That's it. So I'm glad, like I said, he has access to the best treatment. Hopefully they're doing everything they can. But yeah, we're almost 34 years into this band right now. Like, it's going to have to come to an end at some point. We just want to postpone that as long as possible.
Yep. And that's not saying that we don't have faith that everything could be okay. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, but
Right.
it's because it's a trend. You know what trends do? Trends continue to go upwards. They don't go downwards unless we see more of a trend to go downwards. So we're reacting to the upward trend, is what we're doing. One last thing on this, because again, it's on my mind. All of the social media stuff has just been stressful. I try to moderate everything as much as I can. I try to bring context to things as much as I can. And one of the things that I just want to bring up in this forum is that I've seen a lot of people try and compare Ed to what Bruce is doing right now, to what Weir is doing right now, to what Roger Daltrey is doing. And I get it. Those guys are deep within their 70s and 80s. Kudos to them for making it that long. That is impressive. There are some people that don't make it past their 40s that can do that. But I think you have to just remember that it's not about age. It's about body. It's about how your body's reacting to things. It's about vocal power. Put Eddie and Bruce next to each other. I can give you 5 songs that Ed has sung in his prime: Blood, Leash, Deep, Rearview Mirror, and Go. Not to mention all the other ones that I'm sure have Ed stretching his vocal cords to impossible ranges. And Bruce doesn't have any songs that really get to where those songs are. So Bruce has been able to save a lot of that, while Ed's wear and tear has just been deteriorating over the years. And I think there was a conversation with Neil Young at one point where he's just like, hey, you have to put that aside. You have to think about your longevity here if you want to continue doing this. And I think we're just at the point where, everything caught up. Smoking obviously does not help the situation at all. And that part is really, really unfortunate. And while somebody can say, oh, he did 5 shows in a row and those 5 shows were good. Well, it's not like if he does those 5 shows that his vocal cords automatically get better. It keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. And while it might not be falling off after these 5 shows, it's still a lot of power that he has to use out of his voice that keeps on wearing. And that's why we get to this position every so often.
Hopefully they come back to Barcelona. The shows are on. He sounds great, and we'll keep on going from there.
Yep. Again, we're concerned, but we have a lot of faith. We're rooting for him and the rest of the band and the crew, whatever's going on. We are Team Pearl Jam, obviously, and we're just going to stick by their side. That's it. There's nothing much to that. You can be concerned and still be rooting for them, and it's okay. All right. Well, we have, in replacement of the 2 Berlin shows that were supposed to happen this week, we do have a Berlin show that we're going to talk about here from 2014. And this show was requested by our number one patron. And why I say, and it's not patron, I hate saying that when it comes to people that you have grown to appreciate and love, and they've just kind of jumped into your family. And all I have to say about Aurelian is that, like, he was one of the first people to instill the confidence that this podcast was a good idea. And I can't thank him enough for that, because without a lot of the encouragement, especially in the early first couple years, he would message me and basically give a rundown like, here's what I thought of the episode. You guys are doing a good job. Keep doing what you're doing. I didn't really have that anywhere else. He was the one that kept pushing us to do this. So, I mean, anything that Aurelian wants, Aurelian gets. And I know he's very humble. It's not like he's asking for 1,000 episodes. He asked for this probably about a year ago, and I told him, like, look, we're going to wait for that moment. And the moment obviously is no better than right now. So why don't we get to Aurelian's story with this one? Let's tell it for you guys. After my first show in 2012, I was eagerly waiting the next European tour. Luckily, it did not take long before a new European tour would be announced for 2014. I picked the destination based on proximity and the variety of venues. Amsterdam for arena, Milan for stadium, Werchter for festival, and Berlin for an amphitheater. That's pretty smart right there. I like that idea. My first surprise occurred on the morning of the show at the airport, as I discovered that many fans were living in my area, something I did not see coming, as I had not met a Pearl Jam fan for at least 15 years. The travel and the waiting before the show went smooth thanks to fans that I had met at the airport. While they chose to play Waldbühne in recent years, I definitely prefer its counterpart on the eastern part of the city, as the pit is bigger in Woolheid. As a frequent concert goer in Germany, I was not surprised by how passionate and respectful the German crowd was. In my opinion, the best of the continent. We'll get into that. These are hardcore fans, and that's why it seriously hurts right now, because those shows are always going to be something special. We'll see it with the show. The band was in a really good mood in 2014, and all band members sounded great. I definitely consider the 2012 to 2016 run as peak in terms of Pearl Jam touring era. Regarding the set list, I was able to get lots of personal touring debuts for my fifth show, with 11 songs on a total of 34. Not bad. There were many, many highlights for me, but if I had to pick my favorites, I would say the first batch of slow songs with an emotional Nothing Man into the Always Great In My Tree, the Go Why Go combo that would be followed later by another gimmicky combo composed of You Are and Who You Are, the continued comeback of binaural songs that started in Amsterdam 2014. We got here God's Dice, and my personal emotional moment of the night with Sleight of Hand. The unexpected Hold On. After getting alone at my first show, my second white whale was crossed off quite early in my PJ touring years. The also unexpected All Those Yesterdays and B-Girl. And the always desired Immortality and Crazy Mary with Mike and Boom dueling on the Painted Black tag. I can't wait to talk about that. That is special. Overall, it's one of the best shows I have attended. The band, the set, the location, the crowd, the mood, everything was just PERFECT. You guys know how to spell. It's a show that is rarely discussed or mentioned, most likely because it's overshadowed by Leeds and by the album shows that occurred during the American leg of 2014. But nevertheless, I think that it's a very interesting show, and I massively thank Randy and John for covering it. Thank you so much for the highlight. Best regards, Aurelian. Again, Aurelian, anything for you. I apologize that it took us a year to do it, but you knew that we were going to get to it at some point. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, just everybody out there, just know that Aurelian's the best that you can get.
Thanks, Aurelian, for the story. I mean, he's one of those people, like, I mean, you talked about it early on, like, when I got on the show, like, he would message me and, like, just talk, oh, I'm so excited to hear this one. And, like, yeah, Aurelian's super nice. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so going into this, I'm just going to bring a couple things up right at the beginning. Obviously, as Aurelian mentioned, this is the Woolhide venue, and now they play Waldbühne, which both of them are beautiful. Both of them are in the middle of nature, and we'll get into that like right off the jump. But I'm looking at how the tour was stacked right here. I see 2 shows in Amsterdam to kick it off, Milan, Trieste, Vienna, and then Berlin. So this is right in the middle here. I will say that this is very timely with everything that's going on right now. This show is a great show, but this show has a lot of vocal struggles for Ed in places. He gets through it just fine. It doesn't sound like he's sick, but you get to the 6th show in, and that's usually his point where, yeah, it starts to wear on him a little bit because, again, he doesn't have a stop button. He doesn't have a, okay, here's your limit. He can exceed his limit so often, but he gets through it pretty well here. It's just, I wanted to bring that up because it's the fact that we're in Europe, we're dealing with a very similar situation, and it happens. And maybe even times like this where he's starting to get that wear and tear in the middle of a tour can start deteriorating and going on in the later years. So just something to keep in mind. All right, let's dig into the show here. We got 4 songs to kick off the show, and I wanted to smack them all together here because they all kind of fit in the element of nature. And while Pendulum, you don't necessarily think would fit in there, I thought it was interesting because they open with it and the band is taking the stage to pure sunlight. Like the sun is not even close to going down at this point. And Pendulum is not that song that you expect. It's the one where you get the dim lights with like a little blue or green streak and Mike comes out with the bow. It's supposed to be haunting, a little mysterious. But this one, I think the band has to recognize that we got to come out here to this wonderful crowd in front of us in the bright sun and play up to that. And that's why it's a little bit more upbeat. It's a little bit brighter, and the crowd loves everything in this. But I mean, they're invested in Pendulum, the one song that really made its mark on the 2013 and 2014 shows. It seemed to have worked really well here.
At the time, I think a lot of people, oh, Pendulum, here we go. But in retrospect, I think it worked really well. Like, I think a lot of people, too, have come to appreciate this song a lot more in the years since this era. And now, like, Pendulum might be my favorite song off of Lightning Bolt. And yeah, I agree. Like, this version, I think it's a little more open. I love what Jeff is doing here. But yeah, I mean, it's weird to see it in the light, and then especially what's coming next, you picture like, oh, the sun's going down, but we're going to be in the daylight for a long time. Sun's not going down for a long time.
Right. And that kind of leads into the next song being Low Light, and then after that being Nothing Man, and after that being In My Tree. Low Light is obvious. Anytime that they are playing in the sun, as the sun is down to setting in an hour or so in the show, they're going to play this song. It makes perfect sense. They've opened with it in times where, and actually have timed it up to where the sun is going down right when they're playing the song, which is really cool. I think they did that at the Gorge, if I'm not mistaken. And then Nothing Man to tack onto that has the Into the Sun line. That's perfect for that scenario. And then they're smack dab in the middle of nature with nothing but just beautiful green trees surrounding this venue. How can you not, and I mentioned it last week with the Hyde Park show, that how can you not play In My Tree at one of those 2 shows? In My Tree was absolutely perfect. I wonder if that was going through Ed's head. It had to have been like, okay, these three songs, especially, are a tribute to what kind of atmosphere we're walking into.
Absolutely. I mean, and we know that he will, go around to the venue before and get a feel for it before he makes the set list. And they played this venue many, many times. And like, we didn't really get a chance to talk about their history in Berlin. Obviously, if the shows had happened, we probably would have touched on that a little more. But maybe the great Pearl Jam cities of all time. I mean, up there with New York and Seattle and Chicago and San Diego, Berlin, Amsterdam, some of those European places are right there. Like they've had some amazing shows in Berlin. The 2010 show that preceded this one was unbelievable. And, you go back to 2000, that was show 96, an amazing show. So they're coming into it like this is a Pearl Jam town. And the venue, like you said, really get a feel for it when he makes the set list because whatever he throws out there is going to work. I think it's a masterclass in the first four. I think Nothing Man is probably the highlight. And I mean, that's saying something considering my favorite song is in this set as well. But I thought Nothing Man was absolutely gorgeous, just amazing.
Yeah, all four of these are excellent. I think for me, it is In My Tree. I think the reason being is that it's a mid-tempo song that kind of elevates into a faster tempo song. But to see the crowd clapping in the beginning while the drums and the bass line are going is just an awesome scene. We'll mention it a ton of times that this is just a crowd just to sit there and people watch. Like they are invested. And I fully agree. I think I mentioned it before, but I don't remember. I'll say it again. I think Berlin crowd is the best of Europe and should be up there when you're talking about the best Pearl Jam crowds. I think it's easily top 5. We've done a lot of shows. 2009 you didn't mention in that little bit there, but 2009's in the Live on Four Lights Hall of Fame.
Sure.
So, and it's all because of the crowd on that one. But
No more crowbars to my head, yeah. Oh, I'm trading stories with Orleans instead, yeah. Where to all my friends, yeah. But they don't seem to notice me, no, no. Oh, their eyes are on the street, no. Sidewalk cigarettes and
all right, the pit is bouncing. Go. Why go? Do the evolution. Go is just a ripper. I thought that Go right after In My Tree, like that crowd was ready to explode. Again, you said masterclass. I think this set is pretty much a masterclass, but the three to follow here, I thought that the energy and the crowd response on all of them was dynamite. Absolutely perfect. And then you break it up, and Ed's going to talk before Corduroy, but Corduroy absolutely fits into this equation as well, which we'll get into in a second. But Go just burst from the seams, and watching Jeff rocking out during this, and they got a great push at the end with a seamless transition into Why Go. That's what makes the performance feel good, is when they're just clicking, they're on it, one after the other, and these three were definitely above that.
Going right into Go where Mike can just let loose completely, and then in Why Go, you see everyone's fist in the air, and that the crowd's all into it, and yeah, it's very, very well done. I mean, it is a little gimmicky, like Aurelian said, like Go into Why Go, and I kind of expected Gone to be next, but I get why they do it. It's just a little fun thing to throw in. They don't make mention of it. It's not like, here's two songs that go together, but it's just kind of a cool thing that if you're paying attention, it makes sense.
Right, the Man trilogy, the mother, brother, sister, things that they've done in that retrospect. Yeah, I have to bring it up because usually this is set for South America, but the Berlin crowd does the South America on Do the Evolution. And Oh, it's just fantastic. Like they go for another round on it. You know that's how they're feeling good. It's usually 2 times for the solo, but this time was 3 times for the solo. That means everybody is enjoying this and everybody's on a good run with it. But yeah, you can tell Berlin is just at the top of their game.
Take it. Oh, oh, oh. Come on. One more, one more.
It feels like it took him by surprise a little bit because he kind of hears and he goes, "Oh, take it, go with it," and then he lets him have it. And it's like, "Come on, one more! Like keep it going, keep it going." But there's a moment in this when it kicks back in and Jeff does a leap. I think Jeff and Ed together, and you're like, "Oh, it's like 1998 all over again." And then Stone has a really good melodic solo at the end. But yeah, afterwards the crowd is like they're not letting it go. And I thought Evolution was a standout from the show, absolutely.
So Ed gets on the mic here while the crowd is just all over the whoa whoa ohs again after the song. It reminds you of some of those shows that they've done in South America and also in parts of Europe where that has happened before. I believe that Copenhagen show in 2012 is a really good example of that. And he says, "It's nice to see that you're warmed up already." This was the 27th time that they played Germany and around the 6th time that they played that venue. He's actually correct. It was the 27th, and these two shows were supposed to make it 31 and 32, but hopefully in the future they can definitely get there again and be able to give it back to that crowd because they deserve it. So he recalls a 1992 show with Bad Religion that was at this venue, and he says, "We've never had a night as nice as this. We'll be here until it gets dark for sure." And then this is going to be a continued theme too. Obviously, when you get a rowdy crowd and you get people pushing up against the rail, Ed has to kind of play conductor here and just be like, "Guys, I need you. Listen here. Take 3 steps back." And even at some point, he kind of looks to the middle. He's like, "You guys didn't move. Like, come on, we got to do it again." Like, and he scolds them. And if he's telling you to do that, listen. He knows the history of this. Just do it, and you can still enjoy the show from where you are. A couple inches doesn't matter. Next section here, Corduroy, Lightning Bolt, Mind Your Manners. You just mentioned before Ed and Jeff and their chemistry. That's my biggest takeaway on Corduroy. It's like we're going back to 1992 where they're like leaning on each other's back. Raise your hand if you had that poster in your college dorm. I believe it's from Pink Pop, them just back to back and that massive crowd behind them. It's a legendary photo. It feels like they're going back to that. And again, it's just everybody pushing one another, making it more and more intensified. Corduroy sounds great. I think Lightning Bolt is interesting here because you have to go back to where Lightning Bolt is now. The last time that they played it was 2022, the opening show of that tour in San Diego. Ed did not sound very good on this. As I mentioned before, he was laboring a little bit at the show, and you could tell in Lightning Bolt, but this is definitely one that they're on top of the energy for, and we get a nice solo out of Mike on this, maybe even a little bit of a change up from some of the solos that he's done in the past. But this is a tough one for Ed, and he definitely can make it through it this time, but that's probably why you're not getting it nowadays.
For sure. Lightning Bolt I thought was really fun. Like, I don't know if it had been just a long time since we talked about it or since I've heard it, but it seemed like a really fun version. And like Ed seems like he's in a great mood. He goes for like the big rock who ending on it, like doing the windmills and jumps and everything at the end. It felt like they were enjoying it.
I think they missed that song. I don't think that they're able to, especially now. I don't think that they're able to implement this anymore, but
Yeah,
a song like this and just the injection, like a jolt of energy, not to say lightning bolt, but I mean, no pun intended, but it puts a charge into the set for sure. I still really like this song. I still really like hearing it live. Yeah, it's a figment of the time where it was getting played a whole lot. I think that the newer albums do feel a little bit of burnout from that, especially Minor Matters, which we're going to get into a little bit in a second here. I think that's one that whenever I hear it now, I'm just like, okay, this feels like 10 years ago at this point. But I feel like Lightning Bolt still works with this crowd really, really well.
There's not a song like this on Gigaton or Dark Matter that from the beginning it felt like they were able to translate it live really, really well and really turn it into something right from the beginning. I mean, of course, we've had Quick Escape and Retrograde, and some of the Dark Matter stuff has been hitting people, Setting Sun, the title track. But Lightning Bolt, it's like you said, it's kind of the era, and, with Unthought Known, too, especially, kind of a very similar thing. It feels like those always were able to fit in a set and get a crowd going, and we don't have that anymore.
So I think on Mind Your Manners is very short here. It's just a little bit of a toss-up in this. On the bridge lyrics, if Ed gets in a little bit too early, it kind of takes a little bit of the rhythm out of the song. And then there was a part where Mike is getting into his solo and is just basically vamping for a couple extra measures while the band around him just is trying to figure out where they are. So, yeah, just mind your manners. It's getting played every single night here, and just a misstep, and not even a terrible misstep at that. Ed, after this, shares his concern about the front again and wants people to again take 3 steps back. And then he references, I believe this was Suarez in the World Cup, and that's timely sports moment for you there. That we love getting the sports moment from 20 years ago. We got a Sammy Sosa reference in a couple weeks ago, so there you have that. But yeah, Suarez bit somebody at a game in the World Cup.
He bit an ear, I think. Yeah.
Right. I mean, going full Tyson there. Yeah, I kind of remember that. I remember it happening. I just don't remember the visual of it or anything like that. But I'm not a soccer guy. So, yeah, I think he's kind of referencing people in the middle again. Is like, they don't think we can see him, but we see him, like somebody that's deciding not to move. But he's making good on that promise of everybody move back. So the next 4 out of 5 songs are real deep cuts here. We're going to talk about God's Dice, and then we're going to talk about one of the deepest deep cuts of all time in Hold On. And yeah, this is a good section and a good venue to do this in. Again, Berlin is a pretty smart crowd, and they're going to know the deep cuts. They're going to go crazy for a binaural song, and then we're going to get a Riot Act song in You Are in just a few minutes here. But yeah, I mean, it sounded good. God's Dice, they were on top of. That's one that I remember from last year. Ed was a little bit like, can we do it? Can we do it? And then they got through it, and it was great. The performance was great. Ed even did like that dog barking thing towards the end. He's just kind of like barking. He's doing one of those things. And that kind of feels like, okay, that's a little bit of a taste of what he was doing back when that song was getting regular play for sure.
And a big surprise, because normally this is like the even flow spot, so I'm expecting that, and then God's Dice comes on. Like, all right, we're going deep cuts. This is cool.
Right. Yeah, even flow here is going to be the 16th song out of 22 in the main set. And really, when you look at it, it's 20 because, there are Lucan and Eruption in there as well, but it's still 22 songs. And it's still pretty packed for a main set. But yeah, God's Dice is good, but I mean, hold on. That's your one. Now, Ed's going to say here that this is a song that was requested. And boy, if this one is a request, then Ed must really, really like this person, because this is only the 4th time out of the 5 that they've ever played this. So, and this is a tough one. It's a tough one for Ed to sing, so it is down tuned, especially in some of the verses where he has to belt out those lyrics, and mostly it comes when it elevates at the end. And yeah, I mean, it's very close to full capacity. Again, he doesn't have quite the full capacity at the show, but something I noticed here that I want to bring up too, you notice in the Lost Dogs recording of the song where the beginning has like that hitch. You know what I'm talking about? That dun 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 dun. They don't repeat that on the recording, but here they actually do repeat it. I wonder if it was just one of those things where Stone was like, it could throw things off a little bit, or maybe he just didn't remember that that's what they did. But just, interesting to think about. Cool to hear this. It doesn't happen very often, but I believe the last time that they played it was in Brazil. Another one of those songs that just, you're not gonna ever get it. I doubt they'd ever play it again, but there's that never but never.
Maybe an acoustic version. Isn't there like an acoustic version of it?
There is. I think that was on the Versus box set, I believe. Yeah. Given a fly into who you are, then who you are. I guess you're asking questions at this point. Go, and then, wait, why did we go? And you are. And like, who is you are? Who is you are here? So.
Oh, see, I wanted you at the beginning of this, like you into you are into who you are.
I think they did that. Remember they had the like.
Yeah, I think it's been done once. Yeah.
Yeah, that was DC, I believe, in 2008. But it's tough to implement that every single time. You got to do it in just little spurts here. But given a fly, while it's not the deep cut, obviously it's following Hold On. And if you did You Are and Who You Are after Hold On, I think there would have been a little bit of fatigue. Like, okay, there's not a song here that the crowd is fully always going to be invested on. And they're invested with all of these songs, but I mean, Given a Fly, once that hit, everybody's just bouncing up and down. I think they kind of zoned out a little bit when it came to Hold On, because that's not one that really has a lot of bouncing or clapping or anything like that. So you're bringing the high back up on Given a Fly. And I just love that because Hold On had a wide angle shot on this, but they zoomed in on this to see like the first 10 rows in the front, and all you saw was just all those heads going up. And yeah, that's not the first or last song, obviously not the first, but you're going to hear from that again. And then You Are into Who You Are. Yeah, You Are sounded really good. I think Who You Are is interesting because there was something I noticed that Cameron was utilizing a cymbal in the chorus that felt like Jack had never done, and really, I can't remember Matt ever doing that. I just thought it was a little bit strange, but I think the best part of Who You Are is Jeff and Boom's harmony on the melodic run toward the end. That was beautiful. Oh, man. I can't remember a version of Who You Are where that just brought so much harmony to the moment.
this song, like, of course, it was the first single off of No Code, the first thing we heard off of that record. And it's something that they don't usually do, like this kind of Eastern kind of song. And it's kind of an outlier in their catalog. But whenever it shows up in a set, I think it always makes everything better. It's a song that, like, I think should have been, like, it's been played only 45 times. Like, it should have been played 3 or 4, 5 times that. Because I think it just shows a really cool side of them that you don't get a lot. And I love this version. One of the best that we've heard, a non-1996 version in a long time. And like they've only played it a handful of times since this show. But every time I hear it now, I love Who You Are. I wish it would show up more.
Yeah, that's the Jack factor. It did not show up until 2008, and that is 10 years of
Yeah.
no Jack and not giving it to Matt. And you understand that. That's a very Jack influenced song, of course. But yeah, there could be a world where this one relates to the crowd like a present tense did, where it just kind of organically developed into one of those songs that
Mhm.
became a mainstay or lowlight or something like
Yeah,
that.
like I'd love
So
to see it as an opener.
yeah, that would be interesting. I think
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is a world where you can just play around with it, and if people react
Yeah.
to it and it gains momentum, then you have something. This is the even flow section here at song number 16, and Ed would intro that by saying this one that we played 27 times ago here, that we probably played it, but not as well. And bluesy solo here from Mike, it's very, very good, and it's unfathomable to me that we're an hour and 6 minutes into this set. That's what we had, and there were little clips that kind of cut off the end in spots, but we're at 16 songs in an hour 6. Yeah, guys, no wonder why Ed's had vocal trouble going into the years. But, I mean, it's good that we did have an error of this. We'll say that. But, yeah, I mean, look, Ed's getting on top of the speaker box towards the end of the song to see the crowd, and the crowd is just deafening on this, too. Amazing reaction.
You mentioned the solo being a little bluesy. I think it's a little blues funk. Like he's throwing in a little funk influence in there. And then it felt like Cameron had to take a solo there. Like you get a couple of seconds of just Cameron coming in a transition, and like, oh, are we gonna get it? Are we gonna get it? But no, it's just a short little thing, and then they get into it. And again, we're still in the daylight here. The sun has not gone down yet. I think we're in the middle of summer. The sun's not down until probably
5 days
9
after
o'clock, 9:30.
solstice.
That's right. That's right. One of the longest days of the year. So again, very weird to see all of this happening in the daylight, but it's only going to be for a few more songs.
A highlight from the show right here, not a performance, and actually it should have been a performance when you think about it, and maybe it kind of is a performance. So
Yeah.
Ed's giving Stone the nod after even flow. I believe he did give Mike and Matt the nod, but Stone gets a little nod here too, which doesn't usually happen. And then Ed says he writes great songs, he creates beautiful kids, and then Let Stone Sing is ringing throughout this amphitheater. And it kind of turns into this cool little jam. I've never heard them do that for a chant like that before. Ed's improving lyrics on the spot and adding in like a Let Stone Sing bit and pieces. That was awesome. It was so cool.
The reason being we don't listen. Let's don't sing. That's not right. There's nothing new in me. I tried and I tried. Oh, but to no avail. He likes to keep his voice clean. He don't just sing anywhere. Let's go sing. See, he wouldn't even sing that. You see?
This is really cool. And of course, Stone is like, no, you fuckers. Hell no.
Why? And that goes back to Manchester too. We had said before this
Hmm.
tour started that we might be in for a Stone song. Why couldn't they put Mankind on that set? Or Don't Give Me No Lip? Like
Man,
if there was a
Mankind should be played every show from here on out by now. For now,
well, yes, that could be
yeah,
the let's give Ed a break and give him a
yeah,
tambourine in his hand moment. I don't see why not, but
yeah.
Stone is never ever gonna agree to that. Yeah, that's essentially what he says. And then Ed's kind of pushing Jeff into it. He's like, oh, he doesn't sing unless Jeff says it's okay. I don't want any part in this. And then the big chants happen again. So the compromise is that Ed suggests.
Come on, Stone. How about maybe something from the movie Frozen? Let it go, let it go. That's all I know.
And then says, thanks guys for wanting me to sing, but I'm not gonna sing anything tonight, so fuck you guys.
And then Ed comes in with the other song from Frozen. It's like for the first time in forever. So they do a little bit of the Frozen stuff.
Feels like the first time in forever.
All right, Frozen no more. You're outside, it's the
Yeah.
summer. Don't need that. Olaf needs the umbrella or whatever he uses in the summer to get you into Sirens, Jeremy, and Immortality. The crowd on the reprise is excellent. And I think that at the time, this was still developing into a thing. So it did feel like they just kind of went with it. And then once the song ended, the crowd continued it same way as they did with Evolution, just on that high of hearing the song and being in the moment. And it sounds really good. And Ed kind of does a little bit of a improv here too, singing Please Don't Go, doing a little bit of that. Talking before we hit record that Sirens has not been played since 2018. It feels weird, huh?
AWOL. It does, because it was a single, it had a video, and it felt like it was one that the crowd was connecting on, like with this reprise that they do, and all of a sudden it's just gone.
Again, another thing, it's like, is it vocal trouble? I know that they
Yeah.
changed the tuning of that late in 2018 to fit Ed's range and everything.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think that there should be an opportunity to bring it back somewhere, but that's, again, at this point, I think what we're going to get a lot of moving forward is they're just not going to take some of those chances. Usually they would say, let's try it anyway. They're just not going to go back to that if they can help that. Jeremy has everybody just bopping up and down and up and down. There's huge crowd presence, maybe the best crowd presence of the night, you can argue, but you need them doing what they do there. And then Immortality happens. I love Immortality. It's kind of starting to get dark a little bit, so Immortality Outdoors is always one of my favorite songs whenever it comes up in this fashion. And the pretty intro happens in the beginning of this, but Ed sort of botches the beginning, yet that's about the only thing that goes wrong in this. I thought that, yeah, this jam was superb. I can't say enough good things about that. It just, for a lack of better terms, had this just awesome jammy vibe to it. I think they're just kind of continuing to go and playing off the feel And then Matt at some point gets very technical, and it stays pretty smooth, but they put together something that obviously, when they always do Immortality, that's what you're looking for. You're looking to see what direction they go with. It's always a different canvas every time, but this one was really cool. It wasn't like a massive solo or a massive Cameron just taking it out on the kid or anything like that, but everything came together. All the pieces came together nicely.
Yeah, we've been on a really good run of Immortality songs. You mentioned Cameron at the end. That really stood out to me when Cameron kicks at the end. Like, oh my god. And yeah, it's unbelievable. It's just, again, a genius work on the rhythm section there on Immortality. It's definitely a highlight.
Once again, Ed's asking the crowd, let's take another 3 steps back, and said, all right, we're going to take a little break here, and McCready's going to do the next one, and there's nothing we can do about that. Eruption into Lucan feels like it's tailor-made to be that way, that you're going to go solo overload into just ripping a fast one, and then Rearview Mirror. Rearview Mirror is excellent here. It had Stone on his knees.
Oh,
Holy,
so good.
what is he up to?
Oh my god. Yeah. You either get like the duck walk or like a little bit of shuffle, but you never see him really getting that. But yeah, that was something you knew this was going to be good. Jeff bouncing
Yeah.
too, really, really cool.
Yes, Jeff is very furiously up and down on this. But I mean, this is one that just plays off the momentum. It just keeps rolling. It's just fast pace. There's no dips in it until maybe a little bit at the end, but the movement of the crowd and when they start clapping and everything like that, it starts to become a whole sight out there. And you got, some flags out there, a girl on top of somebody's shoulders, and then for the ending, going full out, balls to the wall, and even that last bit where they're just taking the train to the end there, like that puts the Dave throwing the sticks at the wall frustration to shame. I thought that was absolutely spectacular.
A main set like this with 22 songs, you need something epic to finish it off and to put a stamp on it, put a period on it. It does that really well.
All right, we're at the encore, so let's pause for station identification real quick. Talk a little bit about Patreon and thank some people today. So, obviously, right now, the reaction episodes are on hold. We can't react unless it's to another cancellation, which we decided to do today and not right after the Berlin show, because what's going to change between then and I'm sure something. But anyway, that's tomorrow's problem. But let's thank everybody that joined up in the past couple of weeks. It was a lot of European fans because they're looking to get that content and talk about the shows that we went to. So let's thank Aiden McDonald, John Darcy, Gary Myler, Ian Carolyn, P. O'Neill, Brad Arundel, which thank you, Brad. He's done a great job helping us out with the post-game reports, and he's been very eager and excited to do all that. John Randall, Matthew Lewis, Hugh Roberts, Brian O'Neill, and Johnny. I believe that's Johnny Weir. So there you go right there. Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. And in the future, I think you can expect part 2 of that deconstructing dark matter that Javier has been working on. So that's coming in the near future. I believe that we're going to start working on some shorter episodes with shows from like Lollapalooza for Philly and Boston, because those aren't going to be on the regular schedule when it comes to covering those shows, and hopefully covering those shows. I hope that they happen. They better be happening later in September, but that's all coming to Patreon, and obviously everything that's there already, Evolution episodes, the Bridge School series, the late night series for all the TV performances that we finished up early this year. Those are all great. There's nothing but an endless source of content here. If you're getting into Patreon and you think there's nothing here, you're not looking hard enough. We package a lot of things together. So if you're looking for all of the Evolution episodes, if you go to the homepage, I think you can just click on a selection and just see all of those episodes in one. Because yeah, it is hard to dig for all those when we've been doing this for 6 years. So if you are interested in joining our Patreon, please, welcome. Please donate. We are always looking for the help funding this podcast. If you're interested in joining, then go to patreon.com/live on 4 legs and join up there, or download the app and search for Live on 4 Legs, or you can go to liveon4legs.com, take a look at some of our Concertpedia entries from this year, which we're hoping that the Concertpedia presentation gets an overhaul very soon for the main page on the website. So we need the love there. We need the love there for the Concertpedia. And if you click on that Become a Patron button, that's all you got to do right there. And you can listen to the episodes right on liveon4legs.com if you so choose. If you're still interested in a Dark Matter or a potato shirt, those are still on liveon4legs.com too. So, hey, I got a lot of them. I don't know what to do with them, but maybe I'll put them out for sale very, very soon. Who knows? So if you're interested, they're out there. And yep, that's all I got to say about that. So one last thing, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, then tonight we are going to be doing a special Destined to Remember episode, because obviously we haven't had the shows, so we kind of have to update this, and we talked a lot about that in the beginning, but it's getting fresh voices on that. It's myself with Anthony from Touring Fan Live and Dave Jantosh from Live Footsteps, and the attempt here is that we're going to try and get a vocalist on to sort of talk about what Ed is going through. So that could be real interesting, and that's a perspective that I don't think anybody has really dug into yet. So that, to me, is must see. You can either watch it on Facebook Live, that'll be on the Pearl Jam podcast community page, or you can watch it on the Touring Fan Live YouTube page if you want to subscribe over there, which you should. So a lot of opportunities to go see that. That'll start at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. Don't miss it. We'll be there, and hopefully we'll be talking about positive things too. So not just, hey, all the bad things that have happened the last couple of weeks. So it should be fun. All right, back to The Rock. Ed's talking about seeing a concert on TV with a terrible musician that was a violinist, but acted like the worst Bono you've ever seen. And my response to that is, so Bono? Haha, I made a joke for all you U2 fans out there. But the music was terrible. Only 60-year-olds liked it. But they filmed it here, and I watched the whole fucking concert just to see this, and that he holds out his hands to see the sea of people, of course. And then he just expresses all of his gratitude, of course. We love being here. We love seeing you guys, on and on. And then he mentions a conspiracy in front to play a certain song, which this person should be near Stoneside. I wonder if that, again, is going back to Mankind or Don't Give Me No Lip. We need the context on that. So not sure how that got there. But Ed kind of makes a quip there saying, is there another song using these letters that you have to request? You get into Pearl Jam anagrams or something like that. And yeah, it gets a little tough. But we are going to take this gentleman's request right here because it is his birthday, and that request ends up being binaural cut Sleight of Hand. That'll be packaged together with Sleeping by Myself and All Those Yesterdays. I think the highlight here is All Those Yesterdays, but Sleight of Hand sounds really good here too. Just a great soaring version. And then you have to give it to Ed afterwards. He just stops and says, fucking genius. I've never heard him say that after a song before. I thought that was interesting there.
Yeah, I thought Matt sounded amazing on Sleight of Hand, but I did a little digging. There's a thing I found on like a TV, David Garrett Rock Symphonies. Violinist David Garrett mixes classical standards with Berlin's open air Wilhite Theater, and it's got a picture of him, and he does kind of look like a low rent Bono. So I think that's who.
Just
It's
pulled
I
up the
don't
picture.
that's
Yeah, this is no thanks. I don't know why Ed spent all that time
yeah
watching it.
I
I get it.
yeah I gotta think
Watch
that
one of your own
that's what
shows.
he was watching, right?
Sleeping by Myself, the intro into that I think is noteworthy, while the song probably isn't as much. And Ed says this is going to be dedicated to the 20 drunk guys in the front because they'll be sleeping by themselves tonight. So for me, it's always all those yesterdays. That's my moment for this portion of the set. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's a good sign here. This was only the 16th performance, and this was 10 years ago, but the trend is somewhat upwards. It's only been played 8 more since, but again, that feels more than from 1998 through 2006 or something like that, where there were probably a lot less than that. So I think this is one of the songs where you can expect that if you're going to get a rarity, that this could be in the fold.
Yeah, I mean, all those yesterdays here it's kind of the kick down the chairs song too, because they started off in the chairs and by the end they're standing up and kind of getting into a little bit. Yeah, it's a great version. I think it got a little sluggish and slow at the end. Maybe they had an issue with keeping the tempo going. Maybe that's just rust on the song. Like you said, hasn't been played very often. But yeah, very glad to see that it's in the middle of a little bit of a comeback right now.
I fully agree with you. I had the same thing. Just that meat, like you want that to kind of bite a little bit, and it just felt a little muddled. And again, you're right. They haven't played it in over a year. The last time they played it was in 2013 on the West Coast leg. So yeah, there's going to be a little rust, especially it's not one that they play very often. So it's tough to put it all together sometimes, but it's not often that you get it in the set. So you just have to appreciate it for what it is. So Ed's going to ask everybody if we talked about Boom Gaspar, which we did not. We have not mentioned his name yet. Gives a cheers to everybody in the back and says, yeah, you'll never know when you go from the back to the front. Crazy Mary. Good highlight from this. This song felt like a good celebration moment. The crowd was all swaying together, wine bottle out and everything like that. And at one point, all the guitarists kind of huddled around, like right before the duel to kind of prepare. And that kind of felt like a moment like, all right, let's build this up and then just let it all out. And once they get into it, Boom tags Paint It Black like right away. Mike waddles over pretty quickly, and they go at it for a while. It's a pretty massive outburst. You just look at them and they're both like bobbing and like thrusting along to the beat. Like one goes up, the other goes down, and you're watching this and you're entranced. And then all of a sudden, Mike goes into that NBA Jam mode. He just lifts his guitar up every single time, and then he hunches over and absolutely obliterates everything. what a scene. Just watching him do this was just incredible. He was taken to a different stratosphere in this. I don't know what mic this was. He can get there in black sometimes. He can get there in porch sometimes, but Crazy Mary, he can get there in this one too. And this one might be the best mic moment that I can remember in a very long time in Crazy Mary. Holy moly, he was on a different planet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make a reference to something that might be a misstep. I'm not as familiar with this sort of thing as a lot of people probably out there are. And in anime cartoons, when the guy like thrusts the thing up and like the light beam comes out and they connect and like it's this big thing, like that's what this felt like when. Yeah, see, you're making references that I don't understand, but
I barely understand it. I'm not an
yeah.
anime guy, so.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z, things like that. But the ending when Mike goes up really, really high and he's just riding that probably the highest fret on the guitar, and then Boom is up there in the high range going like they're both kind of like melding together. Oh, super cool. Yeah, Crazy Mary is excellent.
Ooh. So, like, Crazy Mary makes you think, like, man, maybe we need like a break song after this. Oh, there ain't no break in sight right here. The ending 3 for Encore 1 is nothing short of astonishing. These 3 could be the reason why Ed has vocal problems today. Comatose, Into Blood, Into Porch. This is like if a demon was spawning from hell to possess this band, he would make them play these 3 songs all in a row. And with Ed not having the best day vocally, it's interesting that they pushed through it and had the choice to do it. I mean, Comatose gets off to a pretty tough start, but they pull through on it. Blood, I think, is the post 90s version of Blood where you get a little bit of your moments. It's basically a nostalgia kick at this moment of time. You're not going to get like an intense version of Blood now, but I mean, Porch, it's just another one where the crowd is just going to get sent to the heavens on. And boy, I can't remember a time where 3 of these songs are just going to have your crowd turn to mush.
Yeah, it's definitely a left turn after Crazy Mary. And Crazy Mary, you're going to summon some maybe happier, some more gentle, benevolent spirits. But yeah, Comatose and Blood and Porch is all demons. But I think you're burying the lead a little bit because a basketball appears on stage and Ed like passes it to Jeff. And you're like, okay, Jeff is the basketball player. Like, he's going to do something. And I think he completely fumbles it. Like, it falls off his hand or something as he's trying to do, like, a thing. Like, I don't know what was going on there. It's hard to tell. Like, the video's still a little not quite zoomed in enough to see. But it felt like Jeff could have had a big basketball moment there and then just shit the bed on it a little bit. But he and Mike have some shenanigans on Comatose that are over there on their side, playing around, doing all kinds of things. And yeah, the energy's really good on stage here, even though the songs are a little darker.
I will have to mention something in Porch that is a bit of my distaste for what the song had turned into. There's riffy Porch, and then there's this.
One last time, daily my feelings good. Be my time by you. Would you hear me? Would you hear me?
Porch that's super quiet where you can hear the pin drop. That's not Porch. That's not supposed to be this song.
It goes on for a long time.
Yeah, like if it's acoustic, I get kind of getting there, but on acoustic, he usually strums the hell out of it in the intro sometimes. But I mean, if you're coming off of Blood, like, okay, like, let's take it down a little bit. But boy, I'm so glad that they all but abandoned that. Nowadays, it's not been that way. I mean, sometimes they'll kind of use it and utilize it, but now it's very much let's get into the what the fuck is this world. And that's the way it should be. But all of a sudden, you're watching this, and Mike is doing his thing, and it's very specific. at one point. I don't know if what he was playing was a tag or not. I'm not sure. But you hear the crowd at one point, and then the camera all of a sudden pans left. You don't know what the crowd's reacting to because the guys are just playing. Then the camera pans left past Mike, and there's Ed atop the scaffold, looking like he's 26 years old again.
Well, you say atop. That's being a little generous. He's on like the second out of 5 or something. But yeah,
a top for
Eddie
a
Vedder
50-year-old man.
Yeah.
A top for a 50-year-old man.
For sure.
You know?
For sure. Yeah.
He wants to see this entire crowd from the highest point that he can. And he's on that high where he can feel like Evel Knievel, like he always says, like that. I think that got instilled in him, and he was just like, let me see this from up top here and get a new view and just look at all of you. All the guys in the back, everybody. And, you know, it closes out a pretty buzzworthy encore here. A big mic stand smash at the end. And, yeah, right there, if you had to call the show and say that was it, time's up, you'd be pretty satisfied with that. But we do have a second encore here. And we are going to package all of these together. I think that this Encore 2, all the songs kind of sort of fit in the same category, and we'll kind of figure that out. But it does thank the crew and the local crew, and thanks to sound guys. And then Ed asked for a young girl's name in the front. He's kind of coercing with her back and forth. And then says, all right, everybody, on the count of 3, everybody say, hi, Matilda. And that was a nice moment. That was really cute. And I think that's perfect. I don't know if he was specifically looking for a little girl to do this with, but the song that's going to follow that is B-Girl. So this section is going to be B-Girl into I Believe in Miracles, then Your Bread and Butter, Alive, Rockin' Ledbetter. And yeah, it's pretty much all sandwiched into one. And I think we can kind of cue the evergreen comment on B-Girl performances that it was a nice little thing. You know, it's just this nice little cute moment, sweet moment, and yep, that's about it. That's what you get from B-Girl, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I think the little girl up front, he had seen her before Blood and been like, "Oh, this is not dedicated to you."
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
that's
he
right.
he said she was like, oh, 4, maybe 5. I don't know if she was that young or just looked that young, but yeah, B-Girl's always cool. I've gotten it twice in the 12 shows that I've seen, and you get Jeff coming on playing guitar, which is always a cool moment to see on stage. So it's something a little different, a little fun thing they can throw in. The show's got a lot of those fun little moments, and then they're going to kick it up with the Ramones cover after that.
Yes. Now, let's get into a little bit of statistics for a reason here. So, I Believe in Miracles is dedicated to the Ramones Museum, which is located in Germany, I believe in Berlin. And do you know how many times they've played this song in Germany?
Ooh, I mean, look, it's been played 70 times total. I would say 4.
Very close. It's 5.
Okay.
I believe it's the last 3 or 4 times that they had been there. So
I don't think we might have gotten it again if these shows had happened over the 2 nights.
probably.
Yeah.
To me, it's like Ramones have such an eclectic, extensive catalog. Try something else maybe once. Like, I like Miracles and all, but I just want to see them just kind of branch out with that. You know what I mean? There's so much they can do.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, but once Ed locks in on something, he's gonna do it.
Sure. And again, I think you mention this every time, but it's a song from their catalog that not a lot of people are paying attention to because that's
Yeah.
the
80s
post.
Ramones.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, it does make sense. But of course, Alive, Rockin', Ledbetter, Alive has the biggest sea of arms on this night, and they all go from pumping their fists to just bouncing and then clapping once Rockin' in the Free World comes out. Like we always say here, just soak in these final moments of these shows as if they were your last. Have everything hit you and just leave everything on the table. And I think what the Berlin crowd does here is that they just take that and go at the maximum that they can go because the scene, again, is just wild. They know it's going to close here. They know that the night's going to end. They're not going to do another show, I believe. The last time that they were in Berlin on this year, I believe they did 2. It was like 2012. Maybe they did 2. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, yeah, everything about this and watching the crowd was just what you want out of Pearl Jam shows.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Stone is just on a ripper solo here for Rockin' in the Free World. And
Oh. Mhm.
maybe that's his, hey, sorry I didn't give you Mankind, but here, have this.
Yeah. I mean, the bread and butter here felt earned. Like it felt like the crowd had gone on this journey with them. And those are when it feels really special, when you can kind of have it be the culmination of this like long epic show. Like that's when the bread and butter works the best. And I think you get that here. Alive is really triumphant, really celebratory. Rockin' the Free World is just like, let's just stretch this out for as long as we can. We don't have much longer. Like I said, the Stone solo was probably the highlight of this whole encore. Really long and extended, and one of the best heard on Rockin' in a long time. And then you have Mike finish off Yellow Led Better, and it feels like you've seen something epic.
I think for me, the scene at the end of Ledbetter, where this crowd is just on their feet, giving this band just a massive standing ovation. You think, because it's like, okay, we have a couple minutes left in the video. Like, there can't be that much else happening. It seems like Ed is just taking his sweet ass time getting off that stage. He's just soaking in this moment and just looking out there like, I don't want to leave this place. If I'm here and I'm getting this response for the next 5 years, this is where I'll stay. Literally, I'm going hungry because I'm going to stay here and just take it all in for as long as I can. Really.
Yeah. They should have brought out David Garrett and done some violin solos.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine
Mhm.
they bring in David Garrett to do like Slow Lukin or something like that. I think
Sure, sure.
they should have. Maybe they had that on the docket for this year.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we'll never know. But that's it for Berlin 2014, you guys. And now we get to pick 3 moments. It's going to be tough to pick the moments here because there's a lot of fantastic
is.
ones. So, by me saying that, I think I'll let you go first.
All right, my number 3 is Who You Are. My number 2 is the Let Stone Sing Jam, the improv. And my number 1 is Do the Evolution.
Oh, okay. I was actually on Do the Evolution for my number 2, and I was trying to figure out what my number 3 was going to be because there's a lot of great moments here. I'm going to go with, I really like the beginning. Man, it's hard not to take In My Tree. I feel like I've taken it a lot, but it's not about like trying to give a song the other do. It's just what's the top 3. Actually, I'm going to give the nod to Sirens for number 3 because I really loved the reprise ending on that. When you have the crowd lock into that, that is the moment right there. As I said, Do the Evolution is going to be my number 2, and number 1 is Crazy Mary. Let's get to a rating. I'm very interested to see how this is all going to turn out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this show is, I think Aurelian mentioned it in his letter, that 2012 to 2016 era is kind of maybe, hopefully not, but maybe the last kind of golden age of Pearl Jam shows that we've seen a lot of good stuff that we look back on and like, oh, we didn't appreciate that era when it was around as much as we do now. And I think this show is a big part of that. It's got all the intangibles that you want, like a great crowd, a great city, a great venue. There's tons of great moments. There's tons of intangible things that go into making it great. The song selection, there's rare songs, there's sing-alongs. I think this is a 10 out of 10 show. I'm giving it a 10. Yep.
Okay. I'm not there, but I'm like inches away. I'm near the goal line. I really like this show a lot. I love watching Berlin shows, and the set list was fantastic, and the great mix of the rarities and even seeing all the hits together and seeing the crowd respond to the hits was amazing. I don't think it's a 10. I'm not there with that. I think it's a damn good 9.5 though. Yeah, I don't know what would have made this a 10 for me. Maybe there's a lot of good moments, but like there wasn't, I guess, a like, oh, you have to go back to Berlin 14 for this. Maybe it was a little bit of that. Maybe it's a little bit of like Ed doesn't have the full power in his voice, and that can go into it a little bit. But this is right up there with great shows that deserve to be 9.5. So that's just missing the Hall of Fame. We're still at 1 episode in the Hall of Fame, but we'll figure out what to do with that episode later in the year.
Yeah, but we got to get that 96 one in. I was looking back. I gave that one a 10. You gave it a 9.8. So we're going to have to get that one in at some point in the Veterans Committee.
Well, what can I say? I was a dick. And we also didn't really have a Hall of Fame at the time, so I didn't feel like, oh,
Right.
well, this is necessary. I can't give you a good reason why that's not that. Like, round it up. Let's just put it in. Like, don't even committee it. And I know that we had a former contributor, Chris Buckley, on that one. He gave it like an 8.5 or something like that. But he hasn't been on the podcast in years, or even affiliated, or even responded to it, so it doesn't matter. That's in. Committee vote. I'm the committee. You're the committee.
It's in. You heard it.
We'll talk about it at the end of the year.
We have to start a Berlin wing.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So I've been thinking about it. We were originally supposed to do a show from Madrid, and we had been talking about like, oh, could it be this year? Could we do this year? I'm not convinced on what to do for next week, especially the show that we were going to pick keeps getting picked on by one of our friends, Eric, who is from Spain, that's going to the Barcelona shows if they happen. And he keeps saying that's the worst show he'd ever been to in 2007. But they opened with Porch, and that's kind of what put it at our attention. But if they're not going to play those shows, it's tough for me to sit here and be like gung-ho about that. I don't know. I, at this point, am thinking about putting it to a poll for this crowd on what we should do. Yeah, I think that's a perfect opportunity. I'll put some shows together that we think would be fun to cover for the summer. Maybe some shorter ones. This was a very long one, and we're going to get into a few shorter ones as we go on, but we'll think about it. Maybe a festival show or something like that. That's pretty notable because this one's supposed to be a festival. We could also do, I think Lisbon from 2018 has Jack White on it. Like, that's pretty cool, and that feels more substantial.
Okay.
So let's do Lisbon. We figured it out. Sorry, guys. I know you probably wanted to vote, but democracy has really spoken here.
That's a can't deny me shoe, so we get to talk about.
Oh yeah, okay. We'll go back to that. Yeah. That one's going to be Javier's. He's going to break that one down next week. I'm going to force him to do that. Cowbell section. How did the cowbell sound on this? Oh, what tone? What key is the cowbell in? Thank you all for listening in. And if you're not subscribed, if you listen to this for the first time, welcome. If you're not subscribed, then head on over to your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Those are 3. There are about 1,000 more that you can do as well. Head on over, click subscribe, and you'll always know when our episode's about to pop up. That can also happen on social media as well, but hey, more the merrier, right? It's just, if you get the notification, it's in your brain, and maybe it's something that you want to listen to in the future. Also, if you're on any of those platforms, feel free to give us a rating and give us a comment. Hopefully the rating is a 5-star rating. We feel like we've deserved it over the past few years that this has gone into tons of research and just tons of time putting effort into this. And I'm not being cocky by saying we earned the 5 stars, but we've earned the 5 stars. So if you feel like we have, then please put that out there as well. And for any of the platforms that I just mentioned, if you want to leave a comment there, lets people know how you've been enjoying the podcast. That helps a whole lot too. All right, let's end this one. This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, I miss you already. Miss you always. Guys, again, while there's concern with what's going on right now, we couldn't be any bigger of supporters, of fans within this band, and we are rooting for them the whole way. We're concerned because we love them. And just like loved ones, you want them to prosper and succeed and feel like you're part of that and part of the push to get them over that finish line. While, again, sure, concern, sometimes you just got to keep the faith and things will keep pushing through. So with that being said, thanks for listening. Next week, see you on the pod.
The cold never bothered me anyway.